Now let's introduce kinship notation in diagrams, or charts. These help us to visualize systems of kinship, residence, marriage, and descent, which can get very complicated and unwieldy. They also help us to map kinship relations and to compare these with other kinship systems. Kinship notation can be used to chart kinship relations, residence, marriage, and descent. All kinship diagrams are viewed from the reference of ego, the person from whose point of view we are tracing the relationship. Here are the standard kinship symbols most anthropologists use to chart kinship. Please take a moment to study these, as you'll need them for upcoming exercises. Males are represented by small triangles, females by circles, marriage by an unequal sign, divorce. Here are the standard kinship symbols most anthropologists use to chart kinship. Please take a moment to study these, as you'll need them for upcoming exercises. Males are represented by small triangles, females by circles, marriage by an equal sign, divorce by an unequal sign. A vertical line represents relations between parents and children. A horizontal line with short vertical lines connects siblings. A backslash through a triangle or circle represents a deceased individual. 8 key relationships serve for generic kinship charts: M for mother, F for father, S for son, D for daughter, B for brother, Z for sister, H for husband, and W for wife. Here's another chart summarizing basic kinship notation. Please pause for a moment to make sure you've got it. We use generic notation symbols to label any kin or affinal relationship in relation to ego. I won't cite all of the kin relationships on this list, but generic kinship notation could be more precise, at least from an eidetic or external point of view, than standard kinship terminology. In American English, for example, all of the following relationships are referred to as aunt: father's sister, FZ, mother's brother's wife, FBW, mother's sister, MZ, mother's brother's wife, MBW, and when I was a kid, I even called my grandmother's sister Aunt Virginia. In many societies, these are considered to be distinct types of kin and have different names. Among the Fang people of Gabon, where I work, father's sister is called female father, a sanga, whereas mother's sister is called simply mother, nana. It would be inappropriate to call your mother's sister your aunt. Here is a basic generic kinship diagram with ego's generation and ego's parents' generation. Starting from ego, it's pretty easy to trace ego's relationships to everyone on the chart. Number 1, for example, is father's sister, FZ. Number 18 is mother's brother's daughter, MBD. Please pause for a moment to verify that you've understood how this works. Here's a practice kinship chart. See if you can identify the relationship of each circle or triangle to ego. Also note that kinship charts are not necessarily complete. We see ego as the father of 31 and 32, but we don't see their mother, for example. 1 on this chart is ego's mother's father, MMF. 28 is ego's father's sister's son, FZS. 35 is ego's daughter's daughter, DD. Let's shift to post-marital residence patterns in households. Residence is culturally shaped by inheritance patterns and economic forces. It influences which kinship relationships will be most emphasized in a society. If, as a male, you and your wife live within your father's household after marriage, you will tend to emphasize paternal kinship. In the U.S., where we tend to establish independent households after marriage, we emphasize the nuclear family. Here are 5 of the most frequent post-marital residence patterns. In patrilocal residence, couples live with or near the husband's father. In matrilocal residence, couples live with or near the wife's mother. In ambilocal residence, post-marital residence is optional between either the wife's or the husband's kin. In neolocal residence, widely practiced in North America, couples live apart from both parents, establishing a separate dwelling and independent household. Avunculocal residence will strike most of you as a bit unusual. The term avuncular means relating to an uncle. In anthropology, it refers to the relationship between men and their sisters' children. In avunculocal residence, couples live with husband's mother's brother, HMB. This residence pattern exists only in matrilineal societies. Note that in matrilineal societies, which we'll talk about below, sister sons, ZS, frequently inherit from their mother's brother, MB. Therefore, it makes sense for them to live with their maternal uncles. Globally, 69% of married couples practice patrilocal residence. Patrilocal residence is widespread throughout Africa and Asia. 13% of couples practice matrilocal residence. We can also use kinship diagrams to show residence patterns. Here we have diagrams for patrilocal, matrilocal, and ambilocal extended households. In the first diagram, we see that sons, their wives, and their children live in the son's father's household. In the second, daughters, their husbands, and their children live in the mother's household. In the third, sons and daughter have the option to stay or to live in their spouse's parents' household. In neolocal residence, adult children tend to set up their own household. Here we see that couple A and B have their own household. Their son, labeled as C, is married to E. They too have set up their own household. C's sister, D, is unmarried, but nonetheless lives in her own household. Neolocal residence requires a lot of resources and therefore tends to exist in societies such as the US, where independence is valued and where people have the opportunity to make sufficient salaries to afford their own household. It also means that families tend to be smaller and more isolated from their extended families. Imagine sharing a house with your adult siblings, their spouses, and children. If you pooled your resources, you could afford a big house. You'd only need one lawnmower, refrigerator, and washing machine. You could also share expenses, household labor, and childcare. But when I ask students if they're up for this, most say, yuck! Our neolocal values and independence make it difficult even to imagine this option. In avunculocal residence, we see that D does not live with his father. Instead, he lives with his mother's brother, A. But A's own son, B, does not live with him. He too lives with his mother's brother.